Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
It's one mic. It's one mic.
Give me a moment, would you, friend? I've never been on trial for my thoughts before.
Welcome to the Only One Mic podcast. I'm your host, Carl Gerard, and today I am joined by actress, model, host, oh my gosh, inspirational speaker. I've been watching your stuff, Miss Kimberly Currin Kim.
Hey,
how
man.
are you?
Hey.
Thank you for joining us today. All right.
Thank you.
So, Kim, as I was saying,
Hey,
I know you do like a lot of different things, but the thing that got me the most was you're very inspirational.
Thank you.
So I've seen like your Instagram posts. I went to your YouTube channel. What's good, Kim? I always want to say that. What's good, Kim? So, and I see like you do a lot of stuff that's very positive. And that's what kind of drew me to ask you to come on the show, which I'm so happy that you said yes. So what I want to do is I want to walk down the journey that is Kim Currin. Now, from my understanding, you were once a wedding planner. Is that correct?
I was, for 13 years.
13 years?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. And you made a switch over to be an actress. So you got to tell us what that is like, because I know like leaving something that is so cozy for 13 years.
Yeah.
Following your dreams, because we all have that in us. I was just having a conversation with my brother earlier and saying like, it's good to find a passion that you really want to indulge in, but it's just like finding the time to do it and the strength to do it, to kind of leave what to do something that you're passionate about. Yeah. So walk us down that path, because that's something and we want to get to the John Campea co-host jobs and all the acting jobs and all that. But I think this is something that people need to hear. So tell us what that was like. What was that journey like to make that decision?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. So, so pretty much my life is rooted and grows from my faith.
Right.
Jesus changed everything. He changed everything for me. And he not only allows me to enjoy possibility, but he is possibility.
Right.
And so for me, it was so funny because I went to Oral Roberts University, and I had a really terrible injury. It was actually crazy. I fell from about 25 feet up, and I landed on my feet, which is the equivalent of jumping off a freeway overpass and landing on your feet.
Yeah, wow.
It was crazy. It was out in the forest. I thought I was Indiana Jones. There was basically a rope and a tree and a creek. I looked over the edge. My professor said, "Don't you dare." I said, "But I have to." And I ran, I grabbed the rope, I swung out, and I fell down.
Now, how old were you when this happened?
I was 18.
18. Oh, so you knew better.
It was my sophomore year of college. Oh, I knew better.
You knew better, Kim.
Yeah, no, she knew better. She knew better. But the funny thing is that it's what changed my life. God can turn your mess into a miracle. So, my spine went numb. I didn't have feeling in my hands. I didn't have feeling up and down my spine. It was a miracle that I was even walking.
God, wow.
The pain was incredible. So my parents said, "You know what? You need to come home," because Oral Roberts is out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And my dad said, "You got to come home. I can't take care of you from out there." My dad's a All-American football player with 3 daughters. And he's like, "I have to have my daughters near me." So I had a friend that was getting married. Mm-hmm. And she said, "Oh, you're going back to California," because we were both from Cali. And she's like, "Can you plan my wedding?" So I said, "Cool." So I actually started my wedding planning company when I was 19. And it was amazing. Like for 13 years, I somehow got into high-end Indian weddings. So we're talking budgets of $2 million, 750 guests. The event starts on Thursday, ends on Sunday. It took me out of the country. I traveled all over California. It was amazing. I worked for a really wonderful Pakistani event planner, and it was just incredible. And I had fallen in love with film when I was, maybe like 9 years old. I'd fallen in love with film. I'd seen Penny Marshall's Awakenings with Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro, yeah.
Yeah, and Robin Williams. And it was crazy because I was like, we all knew Robin Williams from Making Us Laugh,
Right.
And that movie, I mean, if you don't
Yeah, it's
cry
amazing. Yeah.
watching Awakenings, you are a robot. So I fell in love with film, and I've always had an appreciation for film, but life's path just led me along wedding planning. And I just, as film has evolved with technology and different ways of storytelling, as fans have really taken to independent films becoming more streamlined, especially with production houses like Blumhouse and A24, films that me and my geeky group of friends only knew about, more people were starting to see and appreciate. It's like something that bubbles up inside of you, And so I was like, I really want to be a storyteller. I really want to do this. It had been one of those things in the back of my mind. And I remember I was working for a company in event planning, and we were on the design team that did the governor's ball for the Golden Globes. Oh, okay. And I remember I'm setting tables, and the lights are there, and I'm looking at some stuff that was on the tables, and I see Tina Fey's name. Wow. And I was like, I think I made it, at this time, I think I had just turned 30 or something like that. And I was like, in terms of events, I've done it all. I used to write for wedding magazines. I used to design for wedding magazines and blogs. And I was like, you know what? I've done everything I wanted to do in weddings. I worked on the Real Housewives of Orange County wedding. Okay. So one of the weddings one of my goals in weddings was I want to do a wedding that's on TV. I want to do a wedding that's out of the country. And I want to do an event for celebrities. And I did all that by the time I was 30. And I was like, you know what? I really want to follow my dreams. And there were some issues of okay, well, as I'm getting into modeling, I did some modeling, and it was like, okay, you're in your late 20s. And I was like, why is that a thing? And they're like,
well, it's not something now. You see models are in their 60s and 70s on TV.
Well, let me tell you something. Timing is everything. So my inspiration for people that are like, why can't I do what I want now? I learned that sometimes God is setting you up. Someone else has to walk into their purpose before you do.
Right.
Because whoever had the brilliant idea for that Dove campaign, gosh, about 10 years ago, where it showed full-figured women that looked like they had a couple babies in their bra and underwear, try on this lotion, try on this soap. But you're looking at their bellies and you see stretch marks. This didn't happen
reality,
in the ad world. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Don't you, if she doesn't have abs, don't put her in the commercial. Mm-hmm. But they're like, no, this girl's a size 18, put her in there. And guess what? She's wearing her natural hair, put her in there. So as I saw everything opening up in the world, okay, now we're accepting plus size. We're encouraging women, stop dyeing your hair. I want to see those grays. I want to see that salt and pepper. Right. And I'm like, oh, this is my chance. I got to get in there. I'm a thick girl. I'm an ethnic girl. My body is not perfect.
This is your shot now.
I'm about to jump off. Let's get into this. Right. And so the world went in the right direction for the right timing. And so it's just a testament to while you have a dream brewing, God can keep you busy with something amazing. Exactly. I was busy doing amazing work, but so I kind of calmed my life down, and I started working in mortgage for a short time, and I got laid off. Mortgage industry goes up and down, and it was the best gift ever because I had met a friend who was a director for horror films. 2 days after I got laid off, he goes, do you want to come work on the film? And I said, wow. Yeah, heck yeah. This was 4 years ago. And I was like, I prayed and I said, Lord, I'm never working behind a desk again unless it's on TV.
And even then, you probably didn't want to do that, right? It's still a
hey,
desk.
Look, if I'm behind an anchor desk on the Today Show, or if I'm behind, I'll do that. But office work, I was like, office work, we're done with that. It's a different season. At the season I was in it was a blessing. It was great. I got to spend more time with my family. I wasn't traveling around doing events. But getting laid off was the best thing that happened to me because I drove to Ventura every day. I worked on a movie set, going to there's a place called Green Set, which is basically, it's the size of Costco, but it's basically, if you're working on a movie, it's all movie set stuff. So you've got fake tombstones, and you've got signs for fake restaurants, and you've got big, large things. Like I went on green set, and there was some leftover set from Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp.
Wow.
And I'm talking to the guy, and I'm like, look at this 7-foot mushroom. What is this for? And he's like, oh, they use that in Alice in Wonderland. And there's like fake glaciers and fake lava rocks, and you're at the set where they rent all the stuff to put a movie together.
So you educated me on something, because I never knew a place like that existed.
It's called Green Set. Yeah, it's called Green Set. They've got everything you could imagine to create whatever. They have plants, they have trees, they have, oh, you're doing something in the jungle, let me take you to this section of the lot. These are all our tropical plants. And you rent, it's a prop house. It's a prop house pretty much. So
because I always thought that every studio like owned their own warehouses, like Universal.
Some
had
people
theirs,
do. Fox has their own, like Sony has their own. When I did high-end events, sometimes we would rent stuff from Sony, because the bride would have some outlandish, $2 million budgets. These brides, goodness gracious, the stuff that they wanted. So I rented from prop houses before, but Green Set, it doesn't belong to a specific studio. So you go there, you rent it out, and it's amazing. And from there, I just started taking acting classes. I started taking improv at the Joy of Improv. I had just started the Groundlings, which is where Will Ferrell and Anna Gasteyer and like a lot of your Saturday Night Live favorites came from. Because I'm a quirky girl. It's a nice way to say it. So
in a good way.
Is,
a good way.
Yeah. Okay. Yay. Let's go with that. But it's funny because you can be funny. But if you want to make a career out of it, you've got to nurture that. And there's terms in improv, they say playing. So you're in a room full of 30, 40, 50-year-old people who are like, let's play. Let's pick a topic. And you just you do improv and you just roll with it, and you can exercise different characters and different voices. And I've always wanted to do this with my body, and maybe this is funny, and just workshop your ideas. And so I kind of learned to put things that I felt like were natural that God gave me, and really learn to hone the skill, if you will. So yeah. That's
wonderful. So how are you doing with that so far? Are you really enjoying yourself?
God is awesome, man. I've done, I had my third or fourth agency meeting today. So that was cool. Okay. Because there was a time where no one was checking for me, and that's okay, because that's part of the journey. That is a part of the journey. But it's really cool when you get to the point where people want to meet with you, and that's a cool thing. But it's like someone once said, and I know it's a famous saying, but never despise small beginnings.
Right.
So when you start out, you do background work. Here in California, you used to drive up to LA. I did background work for that show with Octavia Spencer. I forgot the name of it.
It was a TV show?
It's on Apple TV Plus.
Oh, that I don't know.
Forgot the name of it. It's a good show though.
I'm just getting up on Ted Lasso, so this is the first time I'm really touching my Apple.
Yeah, no, I'm actually just getting into Ted Lasso, and I'm freaking loving it.
Yeah, hilarious.
It's freaking hilarious, and he is absolutely brilliant. But I did like the morning show. I did a lot of background work, and you have those great moments where your family's gathered round to see you on TV, and you're like, I think that's my foot.
So you got everybody in the living room to look at your foot.
That might be my elbow. I mean, it's so lovely to see your parents freak out, because I remember I did this one, The Politician, I think, with Gwyneth Paltrow, and it was on Netflix. And it's some church scene, and I'm just sitting there, and my parents, you would have thought I had my own 6-minute monologue. My parents were like, that's my baby. That's my daughter. That's my daughter right there. I'm like, Dad, that was 4 seconds at most.
But you got to start somewhere, right, Kim? So
you do. No, you do. Because the first time they watched the John Campea Show, I took a picture of them on the couch, like watching the show, because I'm like, I need to remember this. And they were like holding each other's hands, like squeezing it, like watching me on the show. And I'm like, this is a moment. This is really cool.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful story. So how did you get on John's show? Good show, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I
Yeah, you got a
freaking
lot
love
of
John's
energy.
show.
A lot of
Oh
energy
my
that dude,
gosh.
man.
It really is the best darn news related show in the universe. Well, the funny thing is I watch the show every day because as a cinephile, as a film aficionado, you look for your people, and
Right.
I used to be a part of a meetup group where we would go and watch independent films at this independent theater nearby. You look for your tribe out in this world, as things have evolved, internet has evolved. You remember back in the day, you used to have chat rooms. You just
Yeah.
have AOL chat rooms,
Mm-hmm.
but there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram. You just tried to find your tribe that way. And YouTube, I found John's. Actually, I found John on AMC Movie Talk years ago. John, he's actually a fascinating human being. He was actually one of the first to do film reviews and like movie news.
Yeah, I heard him
Not
speak about that
gossip.
several times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gossip. It's movie news. It's about what is the studio doing? What is this director taking on? How much money did this movie make at the box office, and why? What are the factors that led to this being a success or being a failure, or our anticipation with the next Marvel movie or the tie-in? And so I found him years ago on Movie Talk, and I was like, at the time, nobody was really blogging about movies like that.
Right.
You had Siskel and Ebert, and then you had everyone that was listening to them.
Yeah.
And
Gene, was it Gene Siskel with the mustache? I remember him
Gene
growing
Siskel,
up in New York.
yeah. That was pretty much it. But and he created Collider on YouTube, which is, if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a Marvel fan, DC, with John Schnapp and Kristen Karloff, he created such an amazing universe for film pundits. That show has taken off, but I've watched him over his whole career. So as actors, there are sites that we look for work, and I am always looking for hosting stuff, because hosting is really important to me, because you get to be yourself. I like getting lost in a character, like that's awesome. But hosting, you get to be yourself and kind of be a conduit of a specific topic or information to someone that's new to it or that loves it. And so I'm really passionate about hosting. And I saw this thing come up, and I was like, oh, looking for a host for a movie news show and entertainment show. And the funny thing was, I was thinking to myself, well, if it's not John Campea Show, I don't know who these people think they are, and I was like, I applied for it, and then I saw the email back was from John Campea, and it was one of those praise dance moments where you hope your neighbors won't call the landlord, because you're like, I'm gonna need to get on my Kirk Franklin and do a praise dance. Okay. I was like, there's no way it's John Campea. And the scary thing was, we did a video interview, and usually you do a chemistry test, which is, nobody ever sees it. It's just, maybe they show it to their agent or their manager or a few colleagues. Like, what do you think? How do you like this girl? And the interview went well, another praise dance. And then he goes, you know what? Let's do a chemistry test. And then he called me and was like, you know what? Just come in and let's do a show. And I was like, I'm sorry. What? Because I was like, what? And he's like, if they like you, they like you. If they don't, they don't, but let's just do a show. He's like, I'm really good at picking people. And I just feel an energy from you that is really unique. And I think you're going to be fine.
Because you bring something different, Kim. Because I actually remember the first time you was on there. I had turned it on one time.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Oh, you think you on this show today?
Was I like...
You know what? You want me to be brutally honest with you?
You're like, this girl looks like she chases butterflies.
That's your words, girl. I ain't say that. But I could tell you were just trying to fill out the situation. That's just me. Yeah, I could tell from the look on your face, you're trying to see where these questions are going and things like that. But now, as you go along, it's just like with anything, you kind of found your groove and then you become a staple in that show, so kudos to you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I noticed it. I said, yeah, she'll find it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was my first one, and it was I wasn't. It's not that I wasn't ready in terms of like preparation. It's just I thought we would do a chemistry test first.
Yeah.
But also, to be honest, as a woman out in this space, because I had a YouTube channel before that was not film. I basically I volunteered with foster youth for over 10 years and homeless veterans, and I wanted to take that experience to people. So I created a YouTube channel that showcases nonprofit organizations and opportunities for viewers to get involved. You know, every event that I went to, I've kind of ended it with, look, you can sign up to do this too. If you're inspired by this episode, if you love this episode, click this link, sign up, be a part of it. And I have amazing stories from that. I have people that have started being foster parents because they saw an episode that I did where I interviewed a kid in foster care and what this event meant to them and what mentorship and all that. So, but one thing I kind of was a little hesitant about, because I've received weird messages before, you know, when you're out there in the space and as a woman, you know, especially pre Me Too, some people just say the weirdest things.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
I was a little nervous about being on the show because I know it is predominantly a male audience. Right. But really, I was a little nervous. And so, but really what I found is that it is a respectful group of fellow film lovers. And John does a really good job of protecting his team. And I'm not going to say I haven't gotten weird messages. I have. Yeah. But it wasn't like to the degree that I wanted. But I appreciate your honest feedback.
Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. Because I said, yeah, she got to find her groove. But once you got it, that's my dog barking. Sorry. But once you found it, I knew that was it. That was, you know, he found who he was looking for. You know, so that's always
John's good about letting you be yourself. That's also a testament to him as a host and as a creator, because if you look at the other co-hosts, you've got Robert Meyer Burnett, he himself is a director and a producer. He worked on Lord of the Rings. Like, he's a heavy hitter. You have Erin Cummings, who is a seasoned actress. We were just celebrating the other day. She made it. Go ahead, Erin. She made it into the trailer of King Richard with Will Smith.
That. Yeah, I saw that. I see. You know, it's like she was in. I know when they did like a video of her, like a compilation of all the stuff she'd done.
Reel. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, wow. I watched that movie and I didn't ever notice.
She's been in Mad Men. She was in Lucifer.
You know, so it's like they have it's a lot. You know, so it's a lot that she's in. But you know I actually learned something from watching his video, which was totally not movie related, but he did like a live stream 101 class or something like that. It was like 3 hours long. Yeah. And I'm like, man, he just gave like a lot of game away for free. Like some people pay for this stuff, you know? So
yes, like, he did a YouTube, like how to be a YouTuber. I was watching that with a pen and paper. Like I was in the comments too. Like I'm like, it's a master class.
Yeah, I watched it a few times myself and I'm like, wow, he just helped me kind of like set this stuff up, you know? So I said that was, you know, it's real cool of him.
Yeah, everything from like the technical side of YouTubing, but because if you think about it, John's show is unique in that on average, the show can be 2 hours to 2.5 hours. On YouTube, your average viewing is 7 to 8 minutes about something you like. And that just has to do with our attention span.
Right.
You could really like, say, for example, a video breaking down Denzel Washington's 10 best movies. You'll really want to see it, but you'll watch 8 out of the 12 minutes of the video. However, John's show is over 2 hours and people watch from beginning to end. That's unheard of in the YouTube space.
It is. And like even sometimes like I normally listen to it if I'm going for a walk or something like that. And sometimes you find yourself like you agree with them on certain things and disagree on other things, but it's like almost like you're having this conversation in your head when you're listening to it.
Right. You know? You in. But that's what I like about how he helped me find my footing, was that with all the different hosts, and recently he's had on Scott Mantz, who out here in California, he's usually on is it KTLA Channel 5? Scott Mantz is a big deal. Scott Mantz, literally, John's joked about it, but he's that guy that if you're like, oh, Predator, he off the top of his head can tell you the weekend it came out, how much it did at the box office, who the director, producer, and distributor was. Like he's an encyclopedia, but John made me feel comfortable being myself. I'm not on the show to pretend. I'm not Erin. I'm not a seasoned actress. I'm within my first 5 years of acting. I'm just getting out of the stage where I'm doing student films and short films and independent films and a few commercials to like more like widely shown commercials. Like he allows me to be who I am, which is I'm new. I'm a film lover. I do know more about films than the average person you have a conversation with. However, I'm not Scott Nance. I'm not Robert Meyer Burnett, but he doesn't ever make me feel bad about that. I ask a lot of questions because I think every host on his show represents a different category of listener. And I represent that person that loves film, but just is new, you know?
Yeah,
and
you represent every person. And that's what I kind of
Mm-hmm.
view it as, like you represent every person in that space, because those guys are, you know, experts in what they do. But, you know, you're learning while you're sitting amongst them. And that's, you know, a good thing, especially for you being an actress and all, you know, so you have to be learning a lot of good information from them.
Yeah, I am.
So that's a blessing in itself. I want to circle back to your YouTube channel.
Yes.
You know, that's something, do you keep that going, or are you just pretty much going to put it to the side for right now?
That's a funny thing. So I kind of keep it going. It's not what a YouTube channel should be. And here's the thing about the show. So the show I created, it didn't fit the formula for YouTube, only because, for example, I've worked with a lot of nonprofit organizations because I used to do a lot of work with nonprofits myself. So I wanted to take organizations that I already knew about. However, an episode for me, for example, I did one with homeless veterans called Stand Down. I had to vet the nonprofits first because unfortunately, there's a lot of nonprofits out there who say one thing and do another, who say we're serving this community. And then you read CNN and come to find out their CEO is stealing money and people are being abused. And, you know, so I had to vet people first, but also I was doing everything. And so I would put out an episode once every 2 months because I was not only getting to know the organization, but I was volunteering myself. And then I was getting to know the people. So it was very man on the street. I'd go around and interview the homeless veterans at this event and ask them, how did you hear about the event? Why are you here? What has this organization done for you? Then I'd go to the organizers of the event, the president of the nonprofit, interview him and a few volunteers. And I'd interview other volunteers and go, why did you give up a Saturday to help homeless veterans with mobile services? And the stories I would get from people, like this lady had 2 sons that died in Iraq. And she's like, I have to do this. This is my way of honoring my kids. Like, but also you have to think, I'm out there with the camera, the sound equipment on my backpack in downtown LA. There's 3,500 homeless veterans. There's a lot going on. So visually with my camera, I'm trying to capture it because there's cool stuff. There's mobile vet services that are giving shots to dogs and vaccinations to the dogs and, flea removal and tick removal. But then I go over here and there's a mobile shower service. And I'm like, oh God, that's great storytelling. I wanted to tell people that this is here. There were podiatrists. There was these homeless guys that were getting their nails done. There were manicures and pedicures. It was the cutest thing. They had their pants rolled up. Their feet were in buckets of soapy water, and they had the ladies manicuring their hands. And I'm trying at this huge event with thousands of people to get it all. And then I'm editing it. I'm hosting it. I'm doing voiceover for it. So I couldn't, the YouTube formula kind of requires that you churn out on a weekly basis. Right. If not once a week, multiple times a week. And it needs to be set like every Tuesday and Thursday, you can get this. Like the John Campea shows every day live at 10 o'clock, And so I didn't have a lot of followers, but for me, that was okay because I got a lot. It was funny. I got a lot of views, but not a lot of subscribers. But I was fine with that because I wasn't in it to become a YouTuber. Right. I had this person kind of chastise me one time and they're like, oh, you have a YouTube channel. Oh, let me go to it. Oh, you only have like a couple hundred followers. you have a YouTube channel. You should have thousands of followers. You should be able to quit your job. You should be making all this money and da, da, da. And I'm like, I'm making this because my uncle's a vet and he didn't know that there is an event that you can do where you can partner with a homeless veteran and walk him through this huge, large event and help him. Hey man, you need to see the doctor. Okay, let me go over here and help you with that. Like, I had people signing up for stuff because they didn't know about these events. That's the only reason I got into it. I wasn't trying, like, disappointed. Oh, I didn't get 5 subscribers today. I failed,
Right.
So, so with COVID, that definitely smashed so much of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to continue with doing a series called Simply Amazing, Simple Conversations with Amazing People. So it kind of skipped away from the usual format of like, I'm at a nonprofit event, da, da, da. But now I'm kind of in a space where I really have to focus all my attention on my like career and stuff.
Right.
So I don't have the time to pour into it. So, I mean, to be honest with you, every now and then I'll whenever I do a movie review, which I put up on my Instagram, I'll put it up on my YouTube, but I'm not functionally like really working that channel right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, you got to consider it once the reason why I say that is because that is something that is needed, to kind of put the spotlight on those people that are doing wonderful things like that.
Yeah.
So, just something to consider, I want you to give up completely.
I'm not giving it up.
Yeah.
For sure.
Bad choice of words. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no. No, I get I feel you. I totally get what you're saying. Another thing is I decided whenever I do come back with it, I need a team.
Yeah.
I need a team because I have actually a funny story. I had a church, an episode I didn't really get to air. It was a church in LA. There are ordinances for wintertime for what can be considered a homeless shelter. Mm-hmm. And so there are rules you have to follow. And this one church was really huge inside. They had a ton of pews. They're like, we have a shower. We have 4 bathrooms. We're not in a residential area, really. We're not considered a homeless shelter. However, we open our doors. Well, they were like in a war with the city because the city's like, you're not a homeless shelter. You can't have people sleeping in your pews. And this church they were like rebels. They were like, sorry, but no, if we've got the room, we're going to house these homeless people. And I wanted to tell their story because I wanted to like get people behind them and like, let's help them become a homeless shelter. I really wanted to, I don't just try to go for a story to go for a story. I'm like, how can we get people involved? That's always the aim of What's Good Kimberly is how can we get people involved to become better in whatever way for ourselves, for each other, to show up for one another. And so at the time, I had like a red car. It wasn't souped up. It was a Honda. Okay. It was a Honda Civic and it was red, it was kind of new. Mm-hmm. I have a backpack where I've got $400 worth of camera and sound equipment on my back. And I started shooting. I had permission from the organizers and everything. And these 2 homeless guys start screaming at me. I guess one of them was like, I can't be on video. I have warrants out for my arrest. and I was like, no, it's all good. Like, I'm not like, I won't put you on video. Like I walk around with releases. Like I don't just put people on video, I always get people signed release. And I'm like, no, it's not. And they didn't understand. So I'm here by myself. I've got an okay car. I have all this equipment on me. And I have these guys that are kind of yelling at me and they kind of started to get aggressive. And I wasn't able to finish telling the story. And I thought, you know what? Here's the thing. I want to tell this story. Right. I want to come back and finish this story, but I can't do this by myself anymore.
Yeah, you need backup.
Yeah, I need a team. I need backup. I need someone with, and it was late at night, I was covering the dinner and then I'm walking in the parking lot. But, my dad, he is a sensei. He owns a martial arts studio. And we have this thing in our family called, not in our family, it's all over, called essay. My dad will, if we call him and check in, he goes, how's your essay? Meaning your situation awareness. Right. And my dad would have had my head on a stick for walking through a dark parking lot in downtown LA at night with hundreds of dollars of equipment on me by myself.
Oh yeah.
He would have been so mad. Sorry,
this
Dad.
training girl, and you, what did you say? Your essay? You let it down?
My essay, man. My essay was off, bro. My essay was off.
Wow.
But I mean, he taught us well. I know how to fight, but that
Do
was
you?
that
You
was.
know how to fight?
I do. Yeah, I used to compete. I
Oh,
used to
okay.
compete for years. Yeah.
So you wasn't organized scraps then. You wasn't like somebody.
Oh
disrespected.
yeah. No. Pre Jesus, I was. Pre Jesus, I was like, what?
Weren't we all, Kim?
Come get these hands, teacher.
Weren't we all? I'll tell you the truth, because sometimes you think about things you would do in these situations.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, yeah.
BC. We call it the BC days, my before Christ days. I'd be throwing hands for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah. So sometimes the negotiation don't work.
And it don't work out. How's
Time to sign a declaration.
How's this going?
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, no, but he stopped that real quick.
Yeah,
but
right.
no, I want to do the show. I want to come back with it. But the cool thing about understanding when God is working with timing, because our timing is not his timing.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it's almost like white water rafting. Like I kayak a lot, and I don't go in the open ocean. I go in a bay. However, I have been camping and rafting. And something that's funny that happens is that there's certain parts where you can control things and you can paddle your way around things. And then there's parts where you literally have to stop whatever you're doing. And there's parts where you have to let the water take you, and you have to trust. It sounds very one with nature, kumbaya, but you really have to trust the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up, I'm a terrible surfer. I grew up trying to surf, but I grew up with water sports and all that. And really spiritually, I look at like water sports and stuff and just being in the ocean, being the water, like spiritually, like sometimes you can control things and you can put your best foot forward and be prepared. And sometimes you have to go with the water, and you have to trust. You have to trust the water, and it's that way with God. So right now, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything with the YouTube channel, because I feel like, you know what, when I come back to it, like I'm doing more. I have great opportunities coming out. I have like a independent film coming out. When I return to it, it'll be better because I'll have a better team that knows what they're doing. I'll have more resources, and I can tell the stories the way they deserve to be told.
And that's a fact, because it's like now you'll have more resources around you, and you can do more with it. Once that face gets out everywhere, it's like, okay, now we got to look. Exactly. So I'm glad I caught you early in your career. See?
Yeah, man. No, I'm at the beginning. I don't despise small beginnings, and I there's so much to learn at the different stages, and that's something that people have to understand. Is anyone that you see on TV, like Flo. Let's take Flo for example, the girl that does the progressive commercials. The girl with the headband. A lot of people are like, "Oh, she came out of nowhere," and I'm like, "This girl's been doing improv. This girl has been working her butt off. This was her break, but she didn't come out of nowhere." A lot of the people that you're just seeing have been grinding and grinding. Right. And they're getting their shine, like things are finally happening for them. But it's so funny how some people, they think you can just step your foot in Hollywood. Like it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work.
You have to have a thick skin too, because I guess dealing with rejection a lot of times is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's like face to face rejection.
I've been rejected in the weirdest ways. Yeah.
Wow.
I've had some really strange rejections that I was.
What was your
like,
strangest one,
really?
if you don't mind sharing? What's your strangest?
Well, it's so funny. I mean, I'm a Black woman. I change my hair all the time. That's just something great that we get to do, that we're just great at. I am always changing my hair. And I think at the time I had it straight with like layers, and somebody was like, you're really pretty, you're cute, but you're just not, how do I say this? You're not ethnically aware enough. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Are you trying to tell me I'm not black enough?
Yeah, they gave you the Hollywood shuffle there, Kim.
They gave me the Hollywood shuffle. Shout out to Robert Townsend.
Exactly.
Like, I was like, seriously? But then, like, I did the dreads because I've been wanting to for years, and I'm like, let's just do it. I'm going to do it. I change my hair all the time. I color my hair. So I did that, and then some people now that's what they want. They don't want you no perm, no weave. We want natural hair. We want your hair kinky. We want your hair in its natural state. And so now it's like things are going a lot better than when my hair was wavy, which is so funny. But I'm like, it's just weird to have people like judge your level of your devotion to your culture. That's so weird.
Yeah. And you hear a lot of the old timers used to talk about this, a lot of actors and actresses of the past, and they would say, well, they would tell you, well, you're saying it right, but say it how you say it.
Yeah. Yes. I run into that a lot.
Yeah. I was listening to a interview with Marsha Warfield and Tavis Smiley, and she was talking about that and how she would go to these auditions and they would say, well, say it how you guys say it. And she would play dumb. Like, I don't know what you mean.
Girl, you know you sound about.
No, yeah. So it's like, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about. And it kind of puts them on the spot. So it's like, can you show me what you're talking about?
Because you're waiting for them to like give an example. When you take out some vowels and I want to hear you say it, Bill.
Yeah. You come in the room and say jive turkey,
Okay.
Dynamite or something like that,
Right?
Like that's what we all do when we come in the house. We say dynamite and jive turkey, So
thank you. Hello.
Right. You have a very thick skin. See, this is when the old me would come out and say, hey.
Oh my gosh. I am telling you, it takes it's that, but like, I mean, because I actually got really close to doing a film for Amazon. Like really close. Like I made it down to like the last two. And it was like a film. I was like, because I've been doing student films and indie films, which I love, but I was like, ooh, I'm so excited. Like this is like real deal kind of stuff. And the premise of the film was, I don't know if I can talk about it, but the premise of the film was super, super cool. And I ended up not getting it. And it was one of those things where I had to like cry on camera and like, I was like, I really want to be a part of this project, like so bad. And it's everyone liked me. They're like, we love you. We love this. And I ended up talking to a lot of the filmmakers and they were like, I just really love you for this. I just really love you for this. And I was like, it's in the bag. It's in the bag. I got it. Calm down. It's going to work out. And I didn't get it. And it's so finicky out here in quote unquote Hollywood because there's so many of those situations where you felt so good about it. You felt so confident, but you're like, what the heck, man? But you got to trust the water. The waves are going to come. The waves. One thing that God promised you would have trials and tribulations. He didn't hint at it. He said, I promise you this. You will have trials. You will have fire, but you won't get burnt, but you will be in the fire. It's about to get hot. And so there's been so many times where I've like really gotten my hopes up. And I feel like you really learn to move with that and go, okay, first of all, God knows me better than he knows myself, better than I know myself.
Right.
Maybe the crew, the cast, their energy wouldn't vibe with me. It wouldn't put me in a peaceful place. Sometimes you hear of celebrities, working actors that are like, oh yeah, that movie that everyone loves, toxic. Mad Max Fury Road,
Oh, they didn't like each other when they did that?
Tom, no.
Really?
Oh, it's almost like a famous story. Yeah, Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy were just at each other every day. It was super contentious. Wow. And the other people in the film were like, it is such every day going to be on the set with them too. It was so chaotic. It was such a headache. Their energy towards each other was so negative and so toxic. And
wow.
And it's like, you know what? God knows down the road, like he knows if I would have been happy or not on that set. He knows whether I thought the movie was cool and this is my chance, and whether he was like, baby girl, this is about to be a flop and I love you too much to let you be a part. Like you just have to trust it. So now when I get no's and no thank yous, my attitude is so different than, even 4 years ago when I just gotten started. My attitude is like, okay, well, thank you for the opportunity, and
Yeah.
you just quickly wipe the slate and go on to the next, because God knows what he's doing.
And everything is not for you.
Everything is not for you.
Not for you. You don't want to be in a situation where, you might have to compromise yourself or compromise your beliefs, things like that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And it's like, don't put yourself in that situation, So yeah, kudos to you. I mean, because even with that, do you have to be I know, because I'm a person of faith too. And I'm like, certain things just not for me, you know? So when you're choosing your roles and different things, it's like you really vet those situations and just like, you ever read something and said, look, this is just not for me?
Yes, I actually memorized. My camera battery is getting low, but we're on audio, so oh well. I actually had a role. It's funny because how the process works, if anyone is interested in getting into acting, so there's several sites that you get on and you get your headshots. And if you have a reel or any footage of you acting or doing a self-tape monologue, and you put yourself on these acting sites, they're called Actors Access, Backstage, LA Casting. And I know Atlanta is just like the second Hollywood. Atlanta is blowing up right now in terms of their tax situation. It works out a lot better for films to actually film in Atlanta. Los Angeles, they don't do a lot of movies here anymore. Everything, if it's a TV show, it's done here. If it's a movie, you're going to Atlanta. Most of the Avengers movies, not all of them, but were shot in Atlanta.
Yeah, because they have a studio out there. Is that correct?
Yeah. First of all, Tyler Perry's studio is legit. Like his studio is it's going to go down as legendary. It already is. Right. But so much is being filmed in Atlanta. But these sites are good for all of that. So you go on the sites and you get emails and you put in your type, your height, your weight, your ethnicity, your age range that you play, not the age that you look, that you play. I'm 37, but I can play 25. Right. I'm a Black woman. For all you know, I'm 65 years old.
Don't crack it all, right?
You'll never know. You'll never know. But I don't crack. Neither does my mom and my grandma. Holla, Betty.
Wonderful.
But you go on these sites and things will come in your email and you'll look at it and you'll go, okay, this is a mom of a 5-year-old and they're facing hard times, but an inspirational stranger comes into their life and turns things around. Okay, that sounds cool. Let me submit myself. So when you submit yourself, you're submitting your headshot and they will either email you back and go, I like what I see. Here are the sides. So your sides are like 2 or 3 pages of the script. We want you to send us a self-tape. Pre-COVID, they would say, we want you to come in and read. But now you send in a self-tape. So I got pretty far on a project and I was like, this is really cool. Like the mom was like an alcoholic and she had some issues and a tough situation with her child. And I was like, okay, that's difficult. That's complicated. I like that. I can vibe with that.
It's like,
so
wait for the hook.
Okay, hold on and wait for the hook. So, and the description of the film, I was like, okay, this is real. I want to be a part of stories that really hit things that people can connect with. Excuse me. And so they send me the sides. It's 2 or 3 pages. I memorize it. I send in the self-tape. They're like, cool. We want to have a second audition with you, which is called a callback. So callback is good because that means if 100 people applied, 80 people they asked to do auditions, they'll probably bring 20 back for a callback. They're narrowing down the pool and you're in the pool. So I'm like, okay, cool. 2 callbacks later. So they go, okay, we're going to send you the full script. Man, I read this script after I fell in love with this. And it was like, her husband's a pastor. And at night he goes to a dominatrix and gets spanked. And then when he goes to church the next Sunday, he realizes the woman that was spanking him is actually in the choir. And not only does this woman have a tough situation with her son, she beats the hell out of this kid. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. But it was like like the pastor and the dominatrix and then this person and their like weird sexual desires and animalistic. And I was like, you know what? I'm cool. You know what? I gotta go. I forgot. I joined a bowling team and we practice on Tuesdays and it just happens to be, I gotta go. I gotta
just bailed out of that one. I do not blame you.
Peace. I had no idea. And I had read a lot of the scripts and I just thought it was like, oh, this is moving. And then I was like, oh, this is moving me right out of the door.
Right.
Oh my God.
You right.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Did you just see you say, look, here's your script?
I gotta go. Here's your script. Oh, you dropped this. Here you go.
I wrote a few suggestions down on it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Burn it immediately. No. You know, so I listen, that's what it is that, and especially being a young lady in Hollywood, it's just like you see so much where I guess they have to compromise themselves and things like people have like no nudity clauses from my understanding.
Absolutely.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. So it's like those are the things that you look at. Some people are willing, guys too, are willing to do some really strange stuff. You know, in the name of,
if you watch Game of Thrones, anyone that watched Game of Thrones, I mean,
I topped out.
It's a bit much, it's a bit much. And that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, the good thing about the Me Too movement is it brought to light so many things, but if anything, it's left us with new laws. It's left us with new ways of doing things. But you hear about the the producer's couch, which is kind of a way of saying something very real, that there used to be a time where they're like, hey, come in, girl, read for this. You're going to be in a big movie with big stars. Yeah. It's by the way, it's in my apartment, and so now I feel really safe because there's a lot of things in place that really protect you. And I think the good thing is there's actors out there who are really wonderful actors that have a no nudity clause. And so there's this idea that unless you're really deep, you do nudities. But if you want to be surface, if you're not that deep of a storyteller, then I guess you don't do nudity. No, I just choose not to do it. Right. And so that's something that I think pre-Me Too movement was like, you weren't taken seriously as an artiste because are you an artiste? It's like I'm an artist by taking my clothes off, and
right.
So you can be a good storyteller while staying within your bounds. And it's so funny because I haven't said this publicly before.
I'm glad we got an exclusive. Go ahead.
I know. I'm not much of a writer, but there's like something I've been kind of writing that I want to get made, and it's a Christian film because I feel like Christian film has come so far. I mean,
can I stop you right there for a second?
Yeah.
I was actually about to ask you that same question. Were you writing anything?
Oh,
wow. See?
Yeah,
we here. You was reading my mind because I was just going to ask you, now that you kind of got it, the ball rolling. If you were going to write, or you are writing, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. So we're getting at, okay. So you're writing your story. What is it that you want to see in that story? Like if you were writing a story and you were making this movie, there's just something that I want to see as a person watching this movie, just outside of yourself for a second.
I want to see a Christian film that is gritty and truthful. And gritty.
And gritty.
Because here's the thing. How do I say this without sounding like a crazy hypocrite? Okay, so I've been in church services before where I've seen a lot of hypocritical behavior, where I've seen, I've told this story before on a friend's YouTube, because I was talking about when I really became saved. And we're like, because you grow up in the church, you think you're saved, but there comes a point where you have to make a choice for yourself. What do I really believe and why do I believe it? And I had gone to this church and there was this woman in a tight, short dress, her booty all hanging out. And she had some kids with her and she just looked broken, really broken. And she looked at like whatever rock bottom was for her, she hit it last night is how she looked. And she walked up to the front of this church and sat down with her kids. And I remember there were these ladies that were prim and proper, and they were all wearing white. And they kind of scolded her for sitting in the front. And this woman had this way about her that seemed like whatever brought her to the church, it looked like she had to garner the courage to come in the doors.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a lot of shame on her. And I had to have been like 10. This wasn't in my teens or anything. And I just noticed these ladies scolding her. And she had already come in tears. And I remember thinking, just leave her alone. Let her,
right,
let
as
her
you should. Just
come
leave
to
her alone.
church. Right. And they're like, because the women that sit here are the such and such, whatever club name, church hierarchy, whatever. And the lady left and her kids left. And that, I remember watching her walk out the door and seeing all these religious people, and you're holding your hands up and you're dancing to the music, but that lady was hungry for what God had. Right. She was hungry. And she came in, shame, short skirt, booty all out, but she came. And what God really wants is a broken and contrite heart. Okay. Right. Don't get me started preaching. So she came in with her whole heart wanting God. And these ladies were like, look, if you're not wearing white gloves and a white skirt and a skirt all the way below your knees, and you don't need to be sitting here, and I sit here because I'm the church this and that. And I was like 10. And I remember just thinking, first of all, whatever happened to that lady? That haunts me to this day.
Right. Like they might have just ran her straight away from church altogether.
I think about that lady all the time. The lady with the kid. I think about her all the time because I think, would she have gotten saved that day? Was church a rescue for her? Was she running from an abusive situation? Or what about her kids? What did they grow up to be? Did they get in trouble? Would church have kept them? It haunts me to this day. And I really want to make a movie about that. And I really want to make a film about women that maybe to the world may look like, you're scantily clad, maybe you're a stripper, maybe you do this. And I want to show the intersection between a quote unquote godly woman in the church that's following everything the church does and a woman that's on the outskirts. I was at some event with a church that it was like homeless. It was like a church service. And it was a homeless Christmas event. And I remember this guy going, he wasn't drunk. He was just rough around the edges. And he was vibing with what the pastor said. Like, he was like, this word right here is setting me free. But he was like cussing as he was saying amen. He's like, that's the effing word right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the effing word. But he wasn't saying effing. He was saying word. And even then I was like, there are people in here that aren't cussing, that their worship, God is like, what is this you're bringing me? You're not bringing me anything from your heart. You're just following things because people told you. This right here, this guy that's cussing up a storm, I just saw this vision of like Jesus smiling at that guy and going, your passion, your desire for me. Well, albeit maybe to the ears, to some may not sound right, but for me, between me and you, you're right with me. Because just because you don't say the right things doesn't mean you don't have it right, that your heart's not in the right place. And I want to make a film about that. The film would have profanity in it. It would be a Christian film with profanity, not for the sake of shock value, but I think there's a real story to be told about how a passion for God, a passion to know Jesus doesn't come in the box that you think it should.
Right.
And there's some people that are broken, but they want him and they desire freedom in him. And that cleaning up comes with growth. You come to the church as you are. You get cleaned up as God is working on you. But some people sit in the back and go, that's the effing truth. Amen. And who's to say they're not right? They're not passionate. And so I want to make a really gritty film about coming to Jesus as you are, but I don't want this PG version of like, oh, the guy just wears a hoodie and that means he's in the streets. You're like, no, I want to go. I really want to go there. And yeah, that's
what would you title something like that?
Oh gosh.
Don't give too much away if you're still working on it. Cause you don't want nobody to steal that idea.
No, you know what?
I put you on the spot, Kim. Did I put you on the spot?
You put being on the spot is the best possible place to be. I love being put on the spot. No, you know what? I don't know, but the funny thing is, I know that if I make it, I love the Lord, and I know there are people that will come out and say it's wrong, and say you can't have a Christian film where there's profanity. You can't have women with their cleavage out. And I'm not doing it for shock value. I'm doing it because I need to show you that some women come into the church with their piercings and their short skirts and their lady business hanging out because they don't know any better.
And that's the key. Yeah, they don't know.
But they're hungry. And Jesus didn't say, you clean up and put something on before you come to me. He said, come as you are. Yeah, and I want to tell that story.
You can clean up your appearance, but your mind is still the same way.
Because let me tell you something, baby, there's some people that look great head to toe. They're Instagram ready. They have all the right clothes. The clothes are loose fitting. They're below the knee. And inside they are so rotten. And they are so filled with pride. And they are so distant from what God calls us to be and the heart that God calls us to have for other people. Right. And what frustrates me about Christian films is that, or whenever Hollywood touches on the subject of Christians in film, is that that's the only person we see as the hypocrite. We don't see the person that's truly hungry and that's truly living for God and truly loving people. Hollywood only touches on like, oh, we have a Christian character. Okay, so obviously they're going to be a hypocrite. And I'm like, there's many different stories to tell. I mean, the way I see it, it's just like, you know, one of my favorite films is Air Force One with Harrison Ford.
Get off my plane.
And, get off my plane. I freaking love that film.
Listen, you're the first person I heard that say that was their favorite movie. So
that's in my top 5 for sure. Okay. But I mean, there was a time for the Muslim religion, people who are Muslim, where if there was a Muslim in film, you were a terrorist. You're either an extremist or you're a terrorist. I mean, two of the same thing. They never just showed people that are Muslim that own a grocery store or people that are Muslim and are lawyers. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like, look, if we're all going to have the inclusivity conversation, if we're all going to have the diversity conversation, can we talk about Christians? Yeah. Can we talk about that and talk about how all you ever see is the hypocrite? There's people out there that are marching with the LGBT community and saying, you know, hate is wrong. There's people out there that are opening their own homes, that are opening. I've heard stories of people that opened up when there were the floods years ago, Christian families that like, we have a vacation home. It's 5 bedrooms, 4 baths. We're not using it. Go open it up. There's people in a flood that need a place to stay that open their homes, but we're only telling the stories that suit a certain, you know, point of view. And I'm like, look, I love that the Muslim community has more representation. I love that we're getting a Marvel hero that's Muslim. And I think that's so important for young Muslim girls to see themselves depicted in a way that they can really, you know, vibe with. But I'm like, let's do that for everybody.
Right. Wonderful stuff. Okay. So let me ask you a question. Let's go back to your movie thing. So you said you got Air Force One. It's like your top. What are your top 5 movies?
Oh, bro. It's so hard because they're so. I can you don't even know. I can break them down to so many categories too. I'm like favorite visual effects. I'd have to say, oh gosh, my top 5. Back to the Future.
Facts.
To me, that's a perfect film. Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm.
The acting, are you kidding me?
Yes.
One of the first films, not the first, but one of the films for me, from my generation, that showed how a soundtrack can move you through the story. Mm-hmm. I mean, gosh, Layla, goodness. Let's see, Back to the Future, Goodfellas, Crooklyn.
You know, that my daughter loves that movie.
Delroy Lindo.
Yeah, she got the poster and everything. Yep. And it's like it took me a little bit of time to kind of like really appreciate it. You know, like when I sat down and I watched it, and I guess I'm watching it through her eyes, it's like, yeah, this is a good movie. You know, because I grew up in that type of, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's like, that's the good.
I mean, RuPaul in that bodega, like, and a child, you know, like dancing. I'll never forget Queenie.
When he put the dog in the.
That's just a classic right there.
Wow.
Let's see. So you got Back to the Future, Goodfellas, Crooklyn, Air Force One, and oh gosh, there's a movie. God, there's so many.
I know it's hard when
I switch them up. God, there's a film. It's a Chinese film called Curse of the Golden Flower, with Chow Yun-fat.
Martial arts film.
It is a martial arts film. Okay. It's like a martial arts fantasy. It's because there's martial arts films, and then there's a lot of like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon vein, where it's like the folklore of Chinese history. And the Curse of the Golden Flower, dude. Okay, do me a favor. Check it out. Visually, it's stunning. It's the kind of visuals where it really brings tears to your eyes in terms of just the colors, the art. Every frame of that movie is art. Wow. The story is beautiful. The martial arts is beautiful. I absolutely love martial arts films, but the visuals, the palace, the when they're in the forest, everything, it is the most visually stunning film you'll ever see. You have to check that out.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
The Curse of the Golden Flower, man. I mean, the story's really good. Yeah. And I mean, that's a foreign that I throw in there, but I mean, you'll often hear me say that one of my favorite films is also Tombstone. So I probably interchangeably switch out The Curse of the Golden Flower with Tombstone in my top 5 because Tombstone, I believe, is a perfect Western in terms of the story, in terms of the flow, in terms of the action, the excitement, the suspense, but the freaking dialogue. It's dialogue.
I'm your Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Say when.
Well, go ahead and throw down, man. Like, I just Powers Booth and Kurt Russell and a freaking Val Kilmer. By the way, I hope people go out to see Val.
He has a documentary, right?
He's got a documentary. I'm actually going to see it tomorrow night. But Tombstone is an interchangeable in my top 5.
Now, some may argue that Unforgiven is one of the best, but I still say Tombstone. I'm with you. You know,
I Unforgiven. Well, here's the thing: Clint can carry a film all by himself. He doesn't need an ensemble. Are you kidding me? If you put him in Tombstone, that ensemble would, even though you have Kirk Douglas and you have my man Sam Elliott. Oh, I love Sam Elliott so much. It'd be like, Kurt who? Like, I'm just looking at Clint, like, so that he's in a category all of his own. And how amazing is he for having a new film coming out at 91 years old?
I gotta check the trailer out for that because I did see it come up on my feed, but I haven't.
Cry Macho.
It's like a cowboy rodeo movie or something like that.
Yeah, so he's like a retired rodeo star kind of guy. Did the whole bull thing, and he goes to Mexico to retrieve his friend's son, and deals with everything one deals with, and Mexico's not what it used to be, and it's an amazing country. I went there when I was 15 to Juarez to do missionary work. And it's just phenomenal people. The culture is so rich, but unfortunately, there's issues with drug cartel and all that. And I think they go into that in the film. But Clint Eastwood.
So he's still going vigilante route at like 80 something years old.
91.
He's 91? Wow.
Think of it. You were in your 80s 10 years ago.
Sheesh.
He's 91 and he's 91. Starring and directing. Now that's an OG right there.
Wow. 91.
90
Jeez, he's like
freaking
my
1 years
grandmother's
old.
age. Wow. He's a year older than my grandmother.
Incredible. Incredible. What's your favorite film?
I'm like you. I can go in different categories, but I'm like you. Back to the Future, the trilogy.
Yes.
I think that was like the perfect trilogy.
Yeah.
Since they filmed them back to back to back. So
yep. And they all rolled into each other. They all made sense, but had their own identity.
yeah. I can probably do like a top 10, but Back to the Future. I'm gonna just get my 80s groove on real quick.
Yeah.
Back to the Future. Ghostbusters. The first
yes. Ghostbusters. Bro, yes.
The first Ghost. You know what's funny? I remember seeing that as a kid, and like my family, we were all going to see Ghostbusters. And I used to think, man, this is probably going to be horrible because it's like a scary movie and things like that. Ended up being one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, if we want to go down the De Niro list,
gosh,
Casino.
Yeah,
definitely Goodfellas. Sheesh, like I can go down a hard list of like just De Niro flicks alone. So I'm just going to leave that alone. And Carlito's
right?
Way. Carlito's Way is one of my favorite movies. The original Carlito's Way, not Rise of Carlito or whatever that was. I gave it a shot, Kim. I was like, it's not the same. Because that's based on a book series. And I'm like, maybe that one should have came first before old Carlito, because it throws the whole thing off. So but Carlito's Way, definitely. How many did I give you so far?
God, was that 4?
3? 4? Yeah. Because I said Casino and Goodfellas.
Yeah.
And what's another one? Oh my gosh. How can I round off my top 5? All right. I'll get my geek on for a second. Captain America Civil War.
Yeah, bro. I'm right there with you.
War.
Right there with you.
Yeah.
Because it had that 90s political thriller, like Tom Clancy vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Civil
it came
War.
at you with that Marvel juice, though.
And what was the and I know I should know this of all the little knickknacks I got at Captain America. Winter Soldier, that's what it was. Winter Soldier.
Oh, I thought you said Winter Soldier.
No.
I was talking about Winter Soldier.
I did say Civil War, but I meant to say Winter Soldier.
Okay, because in my head I heard Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I meant to say that, but yeah. And I was debating with a friend of mine one time. I was like, who had the best trilogy? And they saying like Cap's trilogy was terrible. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, did we see the same trilogy? If you say Iron Man, that's questionable.
Yeah.
Because, I kind of, the other ones were entertaining, but
Iron Man is about the fun. It's not about the story.
It's not about the story. The first one was more like story driven, but But then like when you look at that trilogy, I'm like, hands down, so far, best trilogy in the Marvel stable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know that was like 6, but I can do about maybe 10 or 20. We'll be here on
right.
Going shot for shot and quote for quote. So
yeah, man.
Yeah. So what do you think about that Suicide Squad situation? Did you watch it?
Oh gosh. Okay. Here's the thing. And I said this on the show, so it's not a secret. I don't do well with meat cake. I don't do well with because I mean, one of my favorite films is Goodfellas. I can do blood just fine. To me, it's the unnecessary vulgar that I don't vibe with. Mm-hmm. And James Gunn, people like him for that. Okay, cool. That's not my wheelhouse. Right. I mean, in terms of the box office, I got to tell you, I was headed out to see it in the theater. I had a headache, and I was like, instead of going the next day, I just said, you know what? Let me just watch it on HBO. And that's a problem with the box office, is because otherwise, if it had not been on HBO, I wouldn't have had that choice. I would have said, I got a headache. I got to see it tomorrow. I have no other choice.
Right.
So in terms of the box office, there's that. Storytelling, I have to give credit where credit is due, because I'm not one of those people that's like, because I don't vibe with the content 100%, I don't like it. Like, I'll give people what they deserve out of my thought process. And I think he did a good job of making us fall in love with characters that were so unexpected and random, because many characters, that's why they go off by the wayside, is because there's a lack of the storytelling. And one thing I respected about him was that I really understood, and without spoiling it for anyone, I got Polka Dot Man. His exhibition happened in minutes instead of a detour of like, why are we talking about this? I got him instantly. Right. Ratcatcher 2, I got her instantly. And I appreciated what they brought to the table. And somehow I walked out of there going, Polka Dot Man is my new favorite. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. I think I like Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man. However, I mean, I'm just not into the hyper violence. If anyone's seen the beginning of the movie,
oh yeah,
that you can miss me with that whole opening sequence, because to me, I feel like it's almost like people just getting out their aggressions. And I get it, I get why people like horror. I get why people like that. That's not something I vibe with. To me, it almost feels disrespectful to me. Although I don't want to say stuff like, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because I believe inherently we're all hypocrites. So I can watch stuff with blood and shooting and, Apocalypto, Mel Gibson's film, Last of the Mohicans. Like, I can watch stuff like that, but there's a certain attitude to violence when I feel in film, in terms of film, where it may be necessary for the story. Apocalypse Now, Martin Sheen,
right.
Lawrence Fishburne. That's a story that no one wants to tell, but we need to keep telling the story of what really happened in Vietnam. It's ugly. Right. Nobody wants to see children in Agent Orange, and nobody wants to see that, but that is the reality. And storytelling is also about preserving history. However, I felt like it was just like disregard for life kind of violence, and I don't like that. Right, there's a scene, and I think the scene I'm talking about, where John Cena and Idris Elba are going head to head in this little competition, if you will. And then they realize what they did, and they realize, I don't know when this is airing, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but
it'll be in a few weeks. Well, a couple of days. I'm sorry.
Okay, so spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear this, press pause.
Press pause.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here I go. When they killed those villagers, and they were just picking them off
for sport,
for sport, and then they realized, oh, those are the people that are trying to survive. Those actually aren't the bad guys. Mm-hmm. That bothered me.
Right.
It bothered me. And again, I see films that are violent, but sometimes it leaves you with a necessary feeling. Sometimes it leaves you feeling like that was just a disregard for life. Okay. And something about it bothered me. It disturbed me. Yes. I found Suicide Squad to be disturbing. And that's, it's subjective. Everyone feels different. Some people, it's a release for them. Some people have so much frustration. They see these films, and for them, it's some sort of release of like, I had a bad day. I need to see someone get shot in the head. Like, okay.
That's how you want wine. That's,
that's, and a lot of people, and a lot of people are like, that was awesome. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not saying you have bad taste. Hey, that's cool. You do you. I'm not gonna yuck on your yum, as the children say. But it wasn't for me. I didn't think it was awesome. I think he's a good storyteller, but it left me disturbed. I thought the Starro was disgusting.
Oh, the little things coming out of it.
It was just disgusting. That's how I feel.
Yeah, it's like it gives you a little creepy crawly in your skin when you look at it. Like,
yeah, nasty. And I mean, there are body horror, films that God, what's Homeboy's name? That's got a film coming out. He did The Fly in the 80s. David.
Jeff Goldblum's Fly.
With Jeff Goldblum. He directed The Fly, and he's kind of known for that. But he's also a good storyteller, and sometimes it goes there. But yeah, that's how I feel. I thought it was disturbing and gross and unnecessary.
I hear you. So you just wait for that Shang-Chi movie.
I roll.
Oh, you know what I forgot to mention, Kim? The Dirty Dozen. Yeah, I love that.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, the
The
30
Dirty
Dozen.
Dozen. Yeah. Watch that. I think it's on Netflix or something like that now. HBO
Oh,
Max.
is it?
It's on HBO Max. Yeah, as a matter of fact.
I'm about to get into that.
The Dirty Dozen.
Well, I have a question for you that I'm curious about.
Go on.
If you don't mind me flipping the tables.
Go ahead.
What series have you really, would you put in your top, like your top 3? What series, like Stranger Things, a 6-part series, 8-part series, Netflix series? What series have you really loved?
As of recent?
Yeah. The past,
Okay.
I'll say the past 10 years.
It's funny because I haven't I only watched like certain things that might grab my attention. I said, I'll check this out because I'm so busy all the time. I don't really get a chance to sit down. But I would say, Stranger Things caught me by surprise. I actually like that show. That was actually a decent show. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was really impressed by that. Like the message and everything that was in it. I think a lot of people didn't get it, but the message in there was real good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm getting into Ted Lasso because I haven't found something that made me laugh in a long time.
Yeah.
So that
Jason Sudeikis,
that caught me by surprise because someone mentioned to me the other day about Ted Lasso, and I remember the commercials from football games and stuff on. And so I said, okay, well, I'll check it out, and see what it's about. Yeah. And I was pleasantly surprised with that one. I binge watched. My brother put me onto this Parks and Recreation. Oh my gosh. I watched the whole series.
2011.
Yeah,
Parks,
right?
treat yourself. Mates, treat yourself. Treat yourself.
Hey, what's it, Sebastian? Yes. Little Sebastian?
Yeah, little Sebastian.
Oh, no, I know you.
Make your eyes piss tears. You nasty. Yeah.
I like
oh my God.
Yeah. Remember Fairway Phil, the possum?
Yeah, the possum.
When I seen that was one of those things that I looked at and I said, oh my gosh, this is like one of my new favorite shows. Then I watched Kim's Convenience. Kim's Convenience is hilarious. A lot of people don't know about that.
Okay, see you.
Yeah.
And you know what I love about Kim's Convenience is I'm a big believer that diversity doesn't just mean black and white.
Right.
Diversity is inclusive. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as people, we need to show up for each other. And Kim's Convenience is one of those shows where I had to reach out to my Korean friends and be like, you checked it? Because here's the thing. I think we can't punish people for asking what we're sensitive about. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to my friend because I was like, I find this funny. However, I know Hollywood has a way of making offensive things, trying to pass it off as comedy. So I was like, I want to laugh at this. This is funny, but can I? So I kind of reached out to my Korean friends and I was like, can you check this out? And let me know if it's okay to laugh. You know what I'm saying? Because some people might come back and be like, yeah, they're totally mocking us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So they're like, no, this is hilarious. And this is accurate. Cause I'm like, is this how your family is? Cause that's the question is is this how your family is? You know? And they're like, Kim's Convenience is so on point. And my Korean friends absolutely loved it. And I just feel so happy for the Korean community that they have a wonderful show that really showcases the dynamics of their culture and their relationship. The father-son relationship in so many different cultures is so different. Mm-hmm. And I love that show and I love that they got to tell their story.
It's too bad they canceled it though,
I'm so upset.
Yeah.
I'm personally offended. And the way they did it wasn't cool. And there was just everything about it wasn't cool, but also people love the show. I don't understand. And you have the star of your show is the new Marvel hero. Do you understand? That's I mean, God rest his soul. That's like if Chadwick Boseman had been on a TV series and just did Black Panther and they were like, yeah, we're going to cancel your TV series. It's like, I'm sorry.
If he was willing to still do it.
Of blowing up, I'm about to blow up. Come on, man.
Because that kid is about to get money hand over fist. He just don't realize it yet. Wow.
Yes, man.
He's about to get money all over the place. I look at the commercials and I'm like, man, he just don't realize. Maybe he does. Maybe
No,
he can.
he's level-headed. He gets it. He's Canadian, so he didn't grow up around the Hollywood, which I think is good. But I just, because I mean, when he found from when it was announced to him to when he was at Comic-Con was within days.
Right.
So that's what I love about the Comic-Con announcement. It's like, it was like 48 hours new to him. And I love seeing that in an actor, of seeing that, like, but dude, bro, what is it like? Like, if someone ever comes to me and is like, we're recasting Storm. We were looking at you. Like, don't even come at me. Like,
so after
oh my God,
you wake up
dream.
from your fainting spell, then it's like, it
oh my God,
sinking.
Oh my God,
that would be too much.
Oh my gosh,
that would definitely be too much. You know what? I'm also an old school person. Like, one of my favorite joints is like Seinfeld. Man. I watch Seinfeld like it's brand new to me every time I look at it. Yeah. Like, I laugh at it like I've never seen it before in my life.
Such a unique show. No, I like Seinfeld and Frasier. I'm like that with Frasier.
Oh, Frasier was a good show. And I like Kelsey Grammer, but it's like, I'm not saying I can't get into it because I watched a lot of Frasier, but I don't know. I got to revisit it now that I'm a little bit older.
It's on Hulu.
Is it? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. It's one of those shows where I vibe with you. Like, I mean, Seinfeld is always hilarious. Like, that humor is insane. Mm-hmm. And I feel the same way about Frasier. Like, every episode I have seen at least 20 times.
Wow.
But like that I laugh every single time. Mm-hmm. There's always something I didn't catch. I'm like, did you watch 30 Rock?
I watched it. I couldn't really get into it. But everybody's telling me it's fun.
Yeah. Some people couldn't vibe with it. It's very, I'm like that with 30 Rock. Like, when I rewatch it, I'm like, I don't remember this line being here. Like, it's just so funny. Did you watch The Office?
I watched half of The Office.
Yeah.
I watched half of it. Like, somebody said something interesting about The Office. It's like one of those shows that you never watch in its entirety. So, like, a lot of people just getting on the bandwagon because it's on Netflix. So, a buddy of mine was like, man, I go home and just pop on The Office and, laugh after a hard day. And I'm like, I'm the same way with Seinfeld, but I guess I get so caught up in watching Seinfeld that I don't watch The Office.
No, but that's there has to be a name for it. Like, is it like comfort show?
That's exactly what it is. It's a comfort show.
I don't have to be watching it. I could be reorganizing the cabinets. I could be getting in this grout all up in my tile in my kitchen, but I have it on in the background because you've become friends mentally with the characters. So it's like you invited your buddies over and you're just like, they're driving and you're just laughing at it.
Yeah, it's a comfort show. Like, when we were growing up, anybody that's from New York, like Seinfeld, a lot of people don't get because it's such a New York show. So, like, I'm here in Delaware. You ask people, do they watch Seinfeld? I can't stand Seinfeld because it's such a New York centric show, right?
Oh.
And so when we were growing up, we always laugh about this. Anybody who's from New York, remember that on Pix 11 at 11 o'clock, you always got, it was Cheers, The Honeymooners, and The Odd Couple, which is another one of my favorite shows, The Odd Couple. And so, like, when I watch those three shows, it always takes me back to that time in my life where that's what we watched, even as kids. You watch those three shows all the time. So, like,
you have no choice.
So it's like, you only had like 2 channels. So at that time. So, like, we would watch a lot of that stuff, like Lucy. And so a lot of people would ask, well, how do you know about this show and that show? Like, because this is what we grew up on, was reruns. You watch those old shows. Anybody from New York pretty much watched those shows in those orders, nice. So like, I can watch The Honeymooners and zone out, Cheers and zone out, because that's what I'm used to.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so certain things that take you back there, you know what I mean? So, Kim, I'm going to hold you too long because I know it's getting late.
I'm a talker. I'm such a...
That's why I gotta have you back on here.
Words per minute, you'd be like, I had 35 words and she had 7,065.
Because truthfully speaking, I can talk to you for a long, long time, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Because then what's going to happen when you come back?
Bro, I gotta come back.
Mhm.
Yes, and hopefully have more new projects. And whenever this film comes out, I'll be able to like talk about that. And yeah,
You don't have to wait to have your project. You can talk about you. You need a project to come on the show?
I'm such a motor mouth. I know your viewers are like, does she understand the concept of letting him talk? I'm so sorry.
No, why are you apologizing? You know what's funny is like a lot of people that I interview.
When is she gonna shut up?
Like after the show, we sit there, we rapping. It's like, was I talking too long? Was I no?
I already know I was.
I asked you a question and you answered it. So I said, "Tell me about you," and you did it. So so
1984. In a dark hallway of the hospital.
Born the son, daughter of a sharecropper. Parents face many hardships. But no, this is wonderful. It's everything I expected it to be. Everything I expected it to be. So wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much for having me and reaching out. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for responding because, you never know how these things will go.
I try to read messages. I try to read them. I can't read them all, but I do try. And I really try to respond to people. And like, as I like end up on sets and stuff, I'll talk to people and be like, do you ever find time to respond to everyone? And some people are like, I never respond. And I'm like, wow. I try. I try to respond. So I try my best. I can't get them all, but I do try.
No, it's good because I know like you got to kind of vet out the creep factor too to make sure.
I've had many people offer 3 goats for my hand in marriage.
Oh wow.
That's always fun. God bless.
It's on your own fault.
And of course, my mom's like, "Well, what's their credit score?" Trying to marry me off.
Trying to marry you off. Take your time.
Oh God.
All right, so I'm getting ready to sign off, but what I want to know is where they can reach you at, Kim. What can we look for next?
Yeah. My YouTube is What Is Good Kimberly. I will work on that, the YouTube. And you can also catch me on my Instagram at Was Good Kimberly at WUZKIMBERLY.
And the Only One Mic podcast is available on all major platforms that you stream your podcast on. Please don't forget to rate the show and subscribe. Also, if you want to get in contact with us here, you can reach us via Instagram and Twitter at The Only One Mic P1 and Facebook at The Only One Mic Podcast. And also by way of email at theonlyonemic00@gmail.com. Leave your comments and all. Kim, wonderful time. I thank you for coming on. Please don't be a stranger. Please don't be a stranger.
I shall return.
Yes, you will. Yes, please. Okay. And as always, I tell you to speak your truth quietly and clearly and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant, because they too have their story to tell.